Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, with many questions remaining right now around the CDL's future, with the Los Angeles Guerrillas pulling out at the end of the season, new ownership for the London Royal Ravens. Many have asked the question, is it about time the salaries for these pro players start to come down a little bit? Arguably, they've been inflated massively over the last few seasons. Parasite believes a lot of what these players are getting paid is ludicrous, especially with FormaL revealing Scump's supposed salary a few weeks ago. Very much enjoyed to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Quick note on cheaters in Modern Warfare 2 right now, because it's one of the key frustrations with ranked is that the anti-cheat doesn't really seem to work in the game, unfortunately, at least to a large degree. Now, Activision has been suing all of these cheat manufacturers like Engine Owning and the like, and they've now, well, they've been through massive like legal proceedings here, and it's now been rules that Engine Owning have to pay Activision damages, and they can't do this anymore, this type of stuff. But the issue is, right, it's not just one cheat manufacturer, I imagine. They might be the main one. Activision are rinsing them for some money, but you know, at the end of the day, does it really mean that it's going to stop cheaters being, you know, manufactured, or cheats being manufactured and people downloading them? Probably not. Activision are always going to be several steps behind, given how long any of these legal proceedings take. But I guess one small good step, maybe. I guess, okay, Activision getting more money, people would say that's bad, but at least the cheaters are getting shut down to a degree, or at least the cheat manufacturers are getting shut down, which I think can be a good thing. Also, there's some Dr. Disrespect I thought was interesting, just showing Clayster does agree with the idea that a Predator missile should probably not be destroyed by a trophy. We saw the other day Octane gave a similar opinion, so Clay seemingly agrees with that one, and I think for good reason. And also thought this was nice. I know Najot's been on the grind the last few days on the rank play leaderboards. He's been talking for many years, Najot, about the importance of a good ranked mode, and it's finally arrived. Even just the fact that like Crimson here and the other ranks, they just like, they're colourful, right? It's exciting to actually get into these ranks. Like the progression makes a lot of sense. The SR number, like, you know, there's a lot of good things about it. And Najot says Scump bows and methods, it is time. Yes, it is. And then Najot's kind of calling out Methods here, saying he joined OpTic and's got an ego back. You make him nervous, I imagine. Methods does reply and eventually says, you know, I was busy relapsing. I'm excited, though, to get in the ranked play ladders with these guys. And that would be great. I mean, like, Najot and Bows at the best of times is good fun. Add in Scump and Methods, like, that'll be a comedy quartet. There's no doubt. Let's talk, though, salaries in the CDL, because this has been a big topic of the last couple of years, really. And honestly, Call of Duty, the salaries here probably aren't even that crazy compared to some other esports. In CSGO or in like Valorant or something, the top end pros are making, you know, 30, 40k a month maybe. And to be fair, that's like some of the top CDL pros might not be too far behind that, because I remember a few years ago when Zuma got that, like, I think it was when OpTic wanted Zuma in World War II, and FaZe said, no, Zuma, we're going to pay you 20k a month, and that's going to be your salary. And he was like, yeah, sure, I'll stay on FaZe. I think that was like at the time the craziest salary we'd ever seen. But nowadays, since the CDL's come around, that's rather more common. Now, we know Crim6 is on a lot of money as well. He said he was on like, what, 300k a year or something on the Dallas Empire before. And just a quick update from Crim actually on what he's up to on the racing simulator game. I know he's been grinding an awful lot, getting on the right sleep schedule. I believe there's another kind of matchup or like event that Crim's getting involved in this month, so definitely will be staying up to date on that one. But a lot of these organizations have been paying big salaries over the last few years. We imagine that Rokkr paid Attach a fair bag as well to stay on Rokkr, because there was questions whether he would leave that organization and go somewhere else. But even as Rokkr say how we're supposed to help this, and you know, Rokkr say just blow it up and get him out of here, that might be the correct solution. And even FormaL not long ago, a few weeks ago now, was discussing what he believes Scump's salary was. Now, Scump's salary is an interesting one, because he would have been getting paid to be a player for OpTic, and there were questions around whether the salary cap actually exists. There used to be a salary cap of like 1.2 mil for like the entire team and coaching staff a while ago, but I don't really know if that exists anymore or is really enforced anymore. And especially because if you're Scump, if you're OpTic, you can say, oh yeah, we're paying Scump 20k a month to be a player, but we're actually paying him an awful lot more behind the scenes to, you know, to be a content creator for us as well and get around the salary cap in that sense. So I'll just share what FormaL says on Scump's salary, which if this is true, it's remarkable. Even FormaL doesn't fully know on this. I was kind of trying to find a good reason to use this clip, and finally it has arrived. But also what Parasite says on the ludicrous salaries he sees in the CDL right now, and the fact that they're going to have to start coming down soon.
With Scump making, bro, Seth won't tell me how much he makes a month, like salary-wise, bro, but dude, come on, bro. Seth is getting the bag. I promise he's getting the bag. If I had to guess when he was in the CDL, I'd say like over 100k a month. Bro, Seth's making bands, bro. Bro, it's literally Scump. I was always happy just to get Scump. Like, think about that as like a pie. Like, he has like, he pretty much has the whole pie. I just hold the fork. Like, I'm cool with the forks. The fork's still gold type. You know what I mean?
I'm talking about those guys. Those three. Those
Like, I'm cool to hold his fork. Bro, Seth is making a bag, bro. The motherfucker is raining cash. And he won't even buy YouTube Premium. Like, hilarious, bro. Bro, anytime I room with Seth, I used to just force him. I would just force him. Dude, I used to literally order movies on his card. Like, I would just, like, go to bed and just throw on a new, like, Captain America or something. And just to, like, with them. Just to, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're just trying to spend his money.
In the CDL, I mean, they're none of them are profiting. There's no way. They're all probably losing hella cash.
Yeah. I was gonna say, Tom, I think that esports as a whole, at least, dude, some of the numbers in Call of Duty, listen, as much as it's great for the players and the people working in these industries, I think some of the amount that people are paid is ludicrous for what they actually do. Yeah, a lot of like players, for example. Players, for example, like, it's obviously your job to practice and your job to show up on main stage and do that stuff. But like, outside of that, like, a lot of these players like that still have not even like attempted to build themselves a brand or a following. And like, granted, that's not your job as like a professional player exclusively. Like, there are things that you can do to make yourself more desirable, more attractive to brands and stuff like that to help you, your organizations, the industry as a whole. And I think in general, people are just spending way too much money, not only on salaries, but other things. Like, it's crazy to me. I think the numbers that we've hit.
I think it's just spending way too much money on the wrong people.
Yeah, and then a whole bunch of like useless positions and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I think a lot of organizations have a lot of expendable jobs, I guess, or like people.
I don't mind. LEG's good. LEG's good, trust. It's just a bad time. It's in a weird spot, you know. I think the last 2 years have been bad for me. I think last year, I just didn't like the game. That's the first game I think I've ever disliked. This year, just trying to get back to the top. You know what I'm saying? Mindset right now is not positive. Trying.
So I know there's been some controversy around this, right? Will the salaries come down? Because I think Slasher even made the point afterwards that, well, some teams are always going to want the top talent, right? Like, there's going to be a team like FaZe, there's going to be a team like OpTic that's always going to want the best players, and therefore they're going to beat each other up, right, in terms of what they're doing. Now, we know, though, the CDL is in a bit of a questionable position. We saw Jacob Ale for Deserto putting an article out a couple of days ago discussing, like, the key things the CDL needs to change, because as it stands, like, with Overwatch in a worse state than even the CDL is, and teams like Los Angeles Guerrillas and ownership groups pulling out, and like, look, if Cronky Sports and Entertainment have said, you know what, esports, it's not working, that's going to have ripple effects along the other franchises as well, and the other franchises are going to say, you know what, our revenues are going down potentially, we just straight up can't afford these the salaries that we're paying. Meanwhile, Activision rinses all the money and makes absolute mega bag from the CDL, whereas all the teams and even the players might start to struggle, because some players for some time have done rather well, other players have struggled, such as the Legion team we'll see here in a second. Even Arcitys was not particularly a happy man, and you can understand why, because he's gone from having, a good bag on FaZe to having a mega bag on Los Angeles Guerrillas, but now that it's all going away, right? At the end of the season, we don't know what's going to happen with LAG, but like, they paid a lot of money. I mean, like, I don't know what aBeZy was earning in year one of the CDL, but I think aBeZy was rinsing them for at least 300k, if not more. Like, they made some questionable decisions, honestly, with some of these salaries. I mean, that questionable at best, let's say, and that's arguably one of the reasons why they're shutting down Guerrillas or like getting sold, is because like they just wasted a lot of money on things that they shouldn't have wasted money on, such as aBeZy in Modern Warfare 2019. But Arcitys obviously is in a difficult spot right now, and even Clayster kind of has said, and this actually I just wanted to mention because we saw this clip yesterday, but Octane, when he clutches this 1v4 against OGLA at the time, like Seattle Surge, this Seattle team, Octane, aBeZy, Slack, Panda, and Proto, at the start of the year they had Enable and Karma, of course, but they were paying these guys like right on the salary cap. Like, I think these guys were on 250, 300k a year each, something like that, like for a team that was pretty terrible, right? So back a few years ago, the salaries were crazy, and we've always wondered, is it going to go down? Like, I don't want the players to earn less money, right? Like, I think if the CDL was done in a correct way, where Activision wasn't the ones just making all the cash, and the league teams were really struggling, like, I think the players should be earning a good salary, and I don't want to, like, prey on their downfall or anything, but just looking at the realism here, in terms of what Parasite's talking about as well, is this realistic to maintain these level of salaries? arguably not, right? Seattle paid out the years in year one, as did many other teams, and, you know, it hasn't really proved to be a good spend of money in that sense over the last few years. So that is the key question going forwards as to whether, given the state of the economy and the way that things are going with the league and other teams struggling, whether more teams are going to go down the Las Vegas Legion route, or formerly Paris Legion, or the Florida route, or the London route, and basically pay on the minimum of salaries. Now, and Claven agrees, like, he can understand, like, the mind for the business behind this, because probably Vegas are the closest org to profitability in the CDL, he says, because other teams are paying a load of money out in salaries, and Vegas aren't exactly doing that, and they have some sources of revenue, not exactly as much as the other teams do, but they're giving it a go. I'm sure Vegas as well would be voting for the return to YouTube, because then they can actually cash in something from the YouTube rights deal, which we don't seem to really have right now on the media rights side on Twitch, because it doesn't exist. It's kind of like an open party right now that we've got going on Twitch, and that would be a different story if the CDL signed a contract where the teams could then take some money from, and I'm sure Vegas would kind of be down for something like that. At least that would be the expectations, right? So some teams are paying an awful lot. Vegas aren't paying really anything, but obviously it's kind of working for them, right? They're paying low salaries, but, you know, they're still fielding a team. They're still doing okay, and they've survived longer than Los Angeles Guerrillas have, which does make you wonder whether these salaries are going to struggle in the short term. Some players are still going to get paid a lot. The top guys are still going to do very well, because organizations, the top teams that still have money, will be competing for them. But for kind of like the middle tier player, I don't know what the average salary is in the league. Let's say something like 120, 150k. I don't know. Maybe that's about right. But many would say that's a bit much, right? And whether you believe what FormaL said about Scump's salary or not, we know that some players, I don't know what Simp is getting paid, but there's been some rumors, right, that the top guys are getting paid in the ballpark of like 500k a year. I don't know if that's actually the case anymore for Hydra, because we did hear that New York subliners were wanting to drop 500k a year for Hydra to keep him on the team and to prevent him going elsewhere. Now, as it turned out, the OpTic move ended up closing. Hydra stayed on New York. Whether he actually signed the 500k deal, I don't know. I know Crimsix jokes about it sometimes. I'm not sure he's actually on this money, but at least maybe they were considering it, right? Which is already outrageous in the first place. Compared to the amount of value you could argue some of these players bring, especially as Parasite was saying, some of the guys, I mean, Scump earns that money if he was getting paid that money, because like of his brand and his content and what he brings to the CDL and also to the team, and in terms of sponsorship value and all this stuff. Players that don't really do any content, don't really have a brand or a particularly big personality, getting paid that amount of money is pretty absurd, you could argue, despite the fact that Hydra's a phenomenal player. If he is getting paid that cash, it's like, you know, does he fully bring that return on investment for the team when, you know, the prize money they're going to earn isn't going to counter that, right, and all this stuff. So yeah, tricky spot. I think Parasite's got a point. I do think that it's going to be, I don't think that everything's going to collapse down and all the players are going to be on the minimum salary, but I think there is going to be an argument for teams in the future that are going to be definitely like next year and stuff, with teams signing new contracts. I don't imagine they're going to be quite as hefty as they have been this year, but maybe we'll be proven wrong on that one over time. But yeah, very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. Just wanted to finish up with one clip I thought was pretty funny from Nadeshot, because I mentioned him in ranked at the start of the video, and he's been absolutely cooking kids that try and roast me on. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.
Dude, what is that? Yo, Depsy, you better you me, brother, because I got a lot to say about your dog ass. You lost the search, you lost our hard point. I've been playing this game for 5 days, and you still got put in a body bag. You need to do something else, brother, because this hobby ain't right for you.
Oh, wow. Damn. Oh, my God.
Maybe go read a book, Depsy. Maybe go read a book.
I like how you want to talk now. Run it back, please. Oh,
Nah, that's a 2-0. We're going next.
Oh, hell no.